Welcome, everyone, to our very first Disrupting the Algorithm, a monthly check in where the Disruptors Network, where we talk to alumni, past mentors, instructors, actors, directors, and anyone who has been part of our Disruptors family. My name is Julio Salgado, and I am the co creator of the Disruptors Fellowship, a program for the Center for Cultural Power, where I also serve as a senior program manager. As Hollywood and this country really is trying to figure themselves out, we've decided to pause our program this year to go back to the drawing board and see how to better improve and better serve our creative community. In the meantime, we want to highlight the creative individuals that have helped us build this program. For our very first Disrupting the Algorithm guest, we have the incredible talent and just overall baddie, Dr. Jonathan P. Higgins, aka Dr. Jon Paul, who was part of the Disruptors Trans and Non-Binary 2021 cohort. I'm going to read your bio, Jonathan, and you can, add more or add less, whatever you want to say. But I need to read it because it's just, I want to give you all the flowers because of all the things that you've done. Dr. Jonathan P. Higgins is an award-winning educator, professor, national speaker, freelance journalist, thought leader, and media critic who examines the intersections of identity, gender, and race in entertainment. Named National Black Justice Coalition's inaugural Emerging Leaders to Watch and Business Equality Magazine's top 40 LGBTQ people under 40, they have worked with brands on inclusion projects including United Artists, Amazon Prime, Fox, the NFL, Apple, Disney, Instagram, BuzzFeed, Glad, and Ulta Beauty. Most recently, they were named a distinguished recipient of the University of Redlands School of Education Centennial Excellence Award and feature in the first ever Beyond Data issues as an influential changemaker. They are the creator, executive producer, and host of the Heart Media Award winning podcast Black Fat Femme, and author of the book by the same title, Black Fat Femme, Revealing the Power of Visibly Queer Voices in Media and How to Love Yourself, which is now available to pre-order and will have an official book launch on March 25th at the Plus Buzz in Los Angeles. John, welcome to our first Disrupting the Algorithm.
Hello, everybody. So happy to be here. Thank you. I feel honored to be the first person to be asked to do this.
Listen, when I thought about, let's talk about what's happening in the world of media, and just the overall excitement. And you're a podcaster, so I'm like, let's do this with John because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But also it's just all the things that you have to say. I know if it could feel a little bit, I as someone who other people read my bio, I'm like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. But we need to name the things that we do because people forget. And so I'm just thankful that you are giving us the time to talk about it. But before we discuss your baby, aka your new book, tell me, John, how are you?
Someone would say I'm highly blessed and very favored. I will say that I'm not gonna hold you. I'm a little tired, but I think, it's 3 p.m. I mean, it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So, I mean, obviously I've had my day and, I've been going about it and I'm trying to catch up on stuff. But I'm good. I'm good considering the state of the world. I'm safe and I have what I need. I'm very intentional about this idea of trying to make sure that I call the day. Once I get to that last thing in the day, not adding more stuff onto myself and being like, okay, let's work out, let's go upstairs and call it a day. And so that's where I'm really at. I'm really in this mind of just kind of trying to sit with the notion that I'm blessed and highly favored. Little tired, but also just very happy to be alive and to continue to do what I do. So that's how I am.
Yes, no, thank you. I know it's a Monday and I was like, oh my God, they're same. All the meetings, I had so many back-to-back meetings today. But I was really looking forward to. I'm like, you're my last meeting, John.
Yeah.
So I was looking
Kind of
forward
same.
to things.
One small meeting after
Oh,
this, and then
okay.
I'm done for the
Thank you
day.
thank
Yeah.
you for doing this. So you were part of the 2021 Disruptors program. Can you tell a
Mhm.
little bit about your experience in the program? I know it's been a couple of years. But tell us a little bit about your experience for our program.
Yeah, so talking about the experience with the program, I will say I got into the program at a really important and pivotal time in my career, where I felt like I knew my voice as a writer, but I didn't really know, I didn't. I'll say this: I didn't believe in myself as a writer the way I now believe in myself as a writer before I got into the program, and I think that that's why this program was so imperative to me, and I think to a few others, who've gone off to do some really cool things in their career. I think, the industry has a way of making you, and again, we all know what it is, right? The industry has a way of feeding into your imposter syndrome, feeding into the idea that you're constantly in rooms where it's just you, right? And when I say just you, meaning you're just, you're the only queer Black person, you're the only queer Latinx person, you're the only queer Asian, queer person along the spectrum. And so oftentimes, you either become the poster child of the story or you're constantly being kind of forced into a box. And I think Disruptors really helped me kind of hone my social justice and creator voice and be able to say, no, how can I walk into these rooms and be able to kind of own the creativity and the power and the fabulousness really that I have. And so I'm forever thankful to that. I also think too, there's quite a few people that came out of the program with me that are doing other things in different capacities, and it's really cool to have them follow you and support you. And I think that's really what I came out of the program with was like this. I wouldn't even call it a family, but I would say just being able to say, I was there with them when they were in the trenches figuring out what they're wanting to do with their career, right? It's been really cool to kind of follow that too. So I think it's above all, I think the experience, like I said, it really gave me a sense of community. It helped me figure out what my voice is as a creative, and it really helped kind of remind me that I was slash am at the right place at the right time.
I love it. And you bring something very important that the program and the folks that have gone through a program, um, I always felt that you were, or are cheerleaders of each other's work, right? Like a lot of the times in this industry, it could feel very like competition. It's true.
Mhm.
Very little jobs, but this program was about that, about making sure that you all were cheering each other, and I'm happy to see where people have done and gone on to collaborate in other ways, right? But
Yeah,
as
yeah.
I mentioned, one of the things that we've decided to pause this program was because things are changing. Hollywood is changing, right? And one of the
Mhm.
things that I always love doing, as part of the program is to ask you, what can we do better? How can we do, what can we do better as a program? Given the time that we're in right now, John, what would you say that programs and Hollywood should do better to support our community, specifically BIPOC
Yeah.
communities?
Yeah. So I think about this a lot. I always like to say how much, greater and easier our lives would be as creators if creators have the support and the resources that, other creatives and things of this nature have. And so I think that, that I don't want to put all the onus on, disruptors because I think you're doing I think you're doing it. You're giving people, kind of the tools, right, to be able to figure out and manifest what their dreams are in terms of their creative aspirations as writers, as, producers, whatever the case may be. I think, really, I think having folks who really are vested in saying, we're going to get you to where you want to go, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like, right? I think oftentimes, we have these creative endeavors and then we meet people and we connect and then everyone kind of gets so wrapped up in what they're doing that it becomes very hard to keep the relationships going and to keep like you said, the incubation of this all going. And so I think that's the two things, that I would really give as someone who's come out of this program. I would really love if there was kind of like a surefire way to keep people really connected, so that it didn't feel like we all kind of had to like, and I also don't want it to feel like, because I know there have been programs I've been in where they're like, okay, it's time to meet this week. And you're like, oh, I don't have time for this. I need to go do other stuff. what I'm saying is just looking for opportunities for us to get together. And I think you all do a really good job of that. I think, seeing that you invite us to the other stuff the other disruptors are doing. I see random stuff that I see throughout, LA area, and you're like, hey, can you come to this? And most of the time I can't because I'm busy. But, for the most part, I'm not here. But I will say, like, I just think that really support, like I would put this on the onus of the people who are wanting to align themselves with disruptors, really telling the folks and saying, don't just be here to be here to say that you're a part of disruptors. Be here, like really be in the pocket and be in the corners of those who are trying to get to where you currently.
100%, 100% agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, because a lot of work goes into putting a program like this. But the kind of response and the work that you all put in. I remember when you first started in our program, you just brought so much positivity and joy, and our virtual. Initially this program was supposed to be in person. Then we were hit by the
COVID.
by Miss COVID. And then we
Mhm.
just, like everything else, we became a virtual program. But John, what is it about TV writing that you would say is why was TV writing a medium that you chose to tell your stories?
Yeah, so one of the things that I always like to tell people is that I didn't wake up one day being like, I'm going to be a TV writer, and that's what I'm passionate about, and that's the dream I'm going to have. I just knew that I had a passion for media and entertainment, right? I've always had a passion for wanting to be some type of voice or some type of creative that is connected to, the industry and what's happening, whether it be in front of the camera or behind the camera. I knew that in my heart of hearts, I wanted to have some sort of connection to it. And so when I set out to kind of do all of this back in 2013 in my little apartment in the Inland Empire, I initially kind of, knew that I was like the biggest reason why I wanted to get into quote unquote the entertainment world was really just this idea of saying I don't see enough of me or my story in television, right? And then mind you, right, it's 2012, 2013. Yes, everyone is celebrating RuPaul's Drag Race and everyone is, kind of clapping up some of the other stories in the films that are coming out, but there still wasn't anything that I felt like in the moment that represented me. And so as I was tweeting about it and as Moonlight was coming out, there were still all of these things I was critiquing. I had a run-in with a chance producer who initially said, well, if you want to see it, you have to be the person to create it. Now, I want to pause there because I often like to tell people, we hear this all the time. You create it, you create it, you create it. But I also feel like that's a little gaslighty, and I've learned that that's a little gaslighty, especially in this time, especially when you have producers and you have executive producers and you have, I don't want to name names, when you have these big companies that are basically one, drying up all of their support for DEI initiatives, and then also two, closing every door that they can to make sure that no one like myself can get in, right? So to tell someone who has no resources, no that doesn't come from money or doesn't come from the industry to build it themselves is very gaslighting. And I feel like I wish more people were talking about that and how we're putting how society, especially since that came from a white director, to tell me, a Black queer creative, to do it myself, how often it feels very much pull your own self up by the bootstraps. So I want to make sure that I leave that there. But at the time, I didn't know that. I didn't feel that deep in my core. So I set out to do it. And I said, I'll join, if it means a program that I got to get into, or if it means that I have to find the right people, I'm going to keep writing and I'm going to keep telling a story the way I want to tell my story. So that way, hopefully one day it'll land on television. And I'm learning very quickly that, that's hard. And I don't, I want folks to look at me and I want them to understand that I have not been it wasn't like I woke up in 2021 and was like, I'm just going to apply for this program. It was very much given like I had been, like I said, since 2013, I had been hustling and pushing and, knocking on doors. I had interviews. I've met people, I even went up for a show on ABC at once and didn't get it, at one time and didn't get it back in 2017. So, I really want folks to know, like, I set out because I said, the tenacity in me is, and it's very much who I am as a person is don't tell me to do something or don't tell me that I can't do something because I will. And that's very much what made me truly want to start telling stories the way that I wanted to tell them on television.
I love to hear that because on the other, as you were going through that journey, I remember when the show Vida came out on Stars, Tania
Mhm.
Saracho, who was a showrunner, actually invited me to the set, and I had my art was in the show, but I saw a bunch of Latinx writers in the room, and I was like, whoa. My question was like, how did we get here? How did they get here? Right. And because I was like, I'm a nobody. I have no business creating programs for Hollywood. But then I was like, but no, hold on. Like I've been doing the work. I've been doing, but one of the things that I always, to your point, it's like, how do we get people ready? How do we get
Yeah.
us? How, when you get those meetings, and when somebody tells you like, do it on your own, like, who do you turn to? And that was our intention when we first
Mhm.
started doing Disruptors, right? Like, giving
Yeah.
you that because you're already doing the work. We don't need we're not here to teach you how to write. You have those stories. It's about
Mhm.
creating the structures so that you can focus on the craft, right? Let us,
Yep.
as I was like,
Yep.
let me take care of the meetings. Let me take care of the feeding you. Something as simple as that. Like,
Mhm.
let's get you some food. And so I think that and a lot of the times in Hollywood, there's almost no time for that.
No.
There's no space. And this is why I go back to, like, we needed to pause this year, because we are entering a new era where we don't know what is going to happen. A lot of folks who have had shows, they've gotten canceled, or they're looking. Our own mentors are looking for the next gig, and so
Mhm.
there's a lot of things going on, and I think that it's important that we pause and see how can we move this boat. On that end, are there any current shows that you're watching that are getting you excited, or movies, or maybe even digital creators? Like, what are you watching right now that is making you, that's
Yeah.
sparking creativity?
Yeah, so honestly, I will say this, I know that one of your questions is, thinking about, how folks could support me or uplift me. And I will say that I'm learning more and more and very quickly, I'm thinking, so I'll say this. So I'm a huge fan of Lacey Mosley. Lacey Mosley, as people know, is a friend of mine, sort of parasocial, but we have had moments where we've hung out, we've gone to dinner, we've talked, we've run the town of San Francisco together. And so I know Lacey Mosley, but I don't know her per se. But anyway, all that to be said, I've been watching her and her journey. And so even thinking about, I just recently started watching Scam Goddess, the TV show that's on Freeform. And as I've been watching it, and as I've been thinking about the not only just the fun of what Scam Goddess is, I'm learning more and more these days that I'm actually learning that my passion isn't really truly for just strictly like, television, like writing for TV. I enjoy docuseries. I enjoy documentaries. I love being on the side. Like, I went and saw, the Luther doc, at Sundance last year. And that just, it did something for me. And so I'm learning daily, more and more daily, like there's this passion that I have for, and I even go back to it. Like I tell people all the time, a lot of people don't know that my dissertation, when I did my dissertation at University of Redlands, it was initially supposed to be a documentary, but we could not get it. We basically couldn't get it past IRB in enough time for me to finish. And so we opted for me to do the traditional document. We opted for me to do the typical dissertation journey. And so I say all of that to say that, what's been really getting me excited is I'm just watching a lot of documentaries and really thinking about, as I think about this book that's coming out, and I know we're going to get to that and all of that, really what type of documentary would I like to like tie myself to? What am I going to pour myself into in the next couple of years? I feel like I've had the podcast, I have the book, now it's going after that docu-series slash documentary that I've honestly been sitting on for almost 10 years at this point. So
Yeah, I love that. And
mhm.
the fact that, yeah, when you want to tell a story, you got to tell a story. I really I was in Sundance too last year, and I could not get tickets to see the documentary, so I've yet to see the Luther documentary. But well, let's talk about, let's
It's
get
so
start talking
good.
about your book that you coming
Yeah.
out that you have coming out. Congratulations again. Oh my God, you have a whole like a baby coming, like, to this world. You're birthing to this
She's
project.
right
It's back
there.
there. I see it for
She's
the folks
right
who are not
there.
watching and might
She's
be
right
listening.
there.
He's right there. I
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, first of all, can we talk, thank you for my advanced copy. I got to read some of it.
Yo.
But the fact that it's
Mhm.
your forward is like Latrice, the one and only Latrice
Latrice,
Royale.
Tuckin
Uh,
Royale, yes.
like that is amazing. How can you tell us? I mean, she tells the story of how you to me, but can you tell us more about meeting one of
How
your
that
favorites
happened.
and actually collaborating with them?
Yeah, so it was very much giving, this idea of like, I'm going to shoot for the stars and hope that I land on the moon. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It was a shoot for the moon to land on the stars. However the saying goes, it was basically
Make it your
like,
own. Make it your own.
I'm gonna just throw it out there and pray that they say yes. And there were quite a few other people that we reached out to, that I talk about either in the book or that I honored. And I said, hey, and it's not to say that Latrice wasn't special. It was very much this idea of like, I'm just going to shoot for all of the names of the people that are in this book that I think are really important and see what they say. And so, initially I went out to one person and they basically timing wise said, I can't do it. And so when I went back to my team and I said, hey, this person that we initially first asked, we wanted them to be a part of it. They said, no, they can't do it because of timing. They were currently working on a television show, which is out right now. Initially I went back, they said, well, is there anyone else that you talk about in the book that we could go to and ask? And I said, you know what? I actually talk about, or I'm going, at this point, I was in the outlining process. I said, I actually really think that Latrice would be the next person on this list that I could go to, and see. And again, I don't know their schedule. I don't know how busy they are, but I can just pray that they say yes. And so initially when I went to Latrice, I said, hey, Latrice, I don't know if you remember me. I know we follow each other on social. I know that we've had interactions here in the past, but I'm writing this book. I would love for you to write the foreword. And initially they came back and was like, girl, write what? No. And I think it was very much kind of one of those things of like, when you ask someone to write a foreword, that's the thing I don't think people understand about writing a book. Like this stuff is going to live forever. So I think sometimes people get really scared
Mhm.
that something that they've done or something that they wrote is going to live somewhere for a time. And I'm really fighting getting emotional here, but it was really cool because Latrice came back and said, I don't think I'm the right person for this. And I said, something in the universe is telling you that you are. I said, please reconsider. And so a couple of weeks went back, and I really thought that they were going to say no. I sent them, initially what I did was I sent them my opening chapter. I said, please just read the opening chapter, sit with it, and let me know if this is something that you can finagle. It's not even a huge lift. If I have to go in and add extra words, I will. I said, but I just want you to sit with this first chapter and I want you to think about it. And I think after they read the first chapter and they saw where the book was going to go, I think they came back and said, oh, yes, I have to be a part of this. And that's initially how that story was born. It was born out of this idea of saying, like, the universe really worked. The universe went to, basically made it that other person could not do it. And again, I still love them. I still appreciate them. I truly understand how this industry works, that timing is everything for people. And I just think the timing was perfect for me and Latrice to work together. And so, yeah, Latrice wrote the foreword and it really shaped, I think, me writing chapter 1 and 2 and sending it to them and then reading their foreword allowed me to go back and say, okay, now that I know what the forward is going to look like, I know the true story that I really want to hit
Mm.
with this book. And so it was a lot of me and Latrice having, very quick conversations because at the time she was on Broadway. So that was the other struggle was me trying to catch her because she was, in a show. But again, it all worked out and it came out to be the thing that I'm very, very proud of.
The girls are booked. The girls are busy, and this is it goes to show, John, the power of your work, that you're doing, but also you never know who out there in the industry is willing to help out, and
Yeah.
it sometimes things work in mysterious ways, right? Like some of my mentors that I have are people that I literally just send them a message on Instagram or, well, back in my days, MySpace days.
Yes, my space. Yes.
MySpace.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
we're elder
Mhm.
millennials here, but I always tell the kids. I always tell the kids. You and I are both blessed that we get to go to colleges and share our story a lot. And one of the things
Yeah.
that I always tell the kids, I'm like, whatever field you're in, whatever you're, reach out to the people who are doing the work. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, and there are people who want to see you succeed. I know this sounds very like self-helpy, but it really is. A lot of us, we wouldn't. That's why there's a big mentorship aspect to the program, because there's people in the field who really want to help and they want to share this
Right.
information. And so, wow, that story about Latrice feeling that they were not the right person, and I cannot imagine anybody else but Latrice now reading, or writing the
Right.
for your book, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Now, your book talks about how queer voices in the media, specifically Black femmes, encourage you to write this book, and you start the book, with your connection to Luther Vandross, which I automatically connected as a gay Latino man who saw himself in a game. And there was this gay male. He was never out, but his name was Juan
Right.
Gabriel, and he passed away. But you always knew that. Oh, that's me right there. But what is it about queer coded figures that made you say, I need to write this book?
So I think, oh gosh, I love this question because I will say this. When I was struggling to figure out what I wanted to write about, I never went, like, Luther never came up, right?
Mhm.
Actually, no celebrity did. I was thinking it had to be my story, and it had to look a certain way, and it had to feel a certain way. I didn't really want it to be a memoir, but I knew at the same time, I knew that there was something about me saying, like, I know that I want to do something connected to media. And so, like I said, I went to Sundance, watched the documentary, and kind of left and was like, okay, I have a feeling I know what I need to write about. I need to write a book about all of the folks that I saw who told me that it was okay to be myself. And I want to be clear because I don't want Luther's, foundation coming after me. I tell people all the time in every facet, and even in the book I mentioned, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that Luther was queer. What I'm saying is that a lot of the way that the world saw Luther and how they pushed on his sexuality is what I was experiencing at the same time as a child. And so that taught me a lot about the ways that society and the world treats queer people. This idea that we're constantly under scrutiny, that we're under someone's eye, and that we're constantly having to answer to people that we honestly don't even know about who we are. And that's what the first chapter is about. It was really about how I figured out how to respond to the world through the lens of seeing how the world treated Luther Vandross. It had nothing to do with his sexuality and everything to do about the ways that the world critiqued him. And so that was what made me. And so when I left Sundance and I had done all my notes and I had talked to I forget her first name, but I know her name. Her last name is Porter, the one who wrote it. When I got done talking to her via email and us going back and forth, or I should just say the director. When I got done talking to the director of the film, it really became kind of this big aha to me, where I was like, well, what if instead of me talking about just how sad and how daunting it is, what if I made this book about celebrating, queer people in my life that really helped me understand who I am? And that's exactly what the book became. So in the flip, right, we talk about that quote unquote sad part of Luther Vandross's legacy, but there was a lot of things that Luther's legacy taught me, even though he was not technically out, or he never talked about his sexuality. I should say that he never talked about his identity. But I know, and so that was kind of the other idea. It was like, well, what about those who did? So seeing Andre Leon Talley and seeing Miss J and seeing Derek J and seeing Miss Lawrence and seeing all of these people, right? Dexter Mayfield and Latrice Royale, like all of these really big, and I say big, both punny, but also not, all these queer Black people who took up space both in their size, but also took up space in their creativity. What did that tell me? And I think that's the thing that really made me go, okay, I got it. I know what I'm writing. And it felt really good once I finally had that, like, on paper.
Yeah, no, it I was just, it flowed super beautifully, the way that you were able to tell your own story and connect it, to the story of this person that, yeah, whether or not he was, we're not here to discuss other people's sexuality, especially when they're not
No.
here.
Hmm.
But the impact that then that creates, because your book is now going to have an impact on other people. Like, that's just
Right.
how history, and that's how art. and the sort of after effects that it produces. So I think your book is going to just touch so many people's lives, because we think that we're in an era where, oh, everything is fine, be gay, everything is. You mentioned how like World Wonder can come in and like pretend like if you put some high heels, your story's out there.
Right.
But no, it really, we are still in a very, in a weird way, we're going backwards in so many ways. But
My
I'm happy
God.
that your book exists. In your book you discuss the word audacity. My
Mm.
favorite line, if you don't mind me reading it, is, hell, I had to have the audacity to even pitch the idea of this book because so many people told me that it would never go anywhere. Can you tell us how you went from idea to actually having a book launch at the end of this month? You kind of started, but
Ah.
you talked about the outline of it all. But what was the process? How many no's did you get? What was that
Ah.
like? And I'm sorry, this is a crying moment. We
Yeah.
welcome all the feelings because,
Uh,
John, this is huge. This is amazing, and and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
take a time. If you want to take a sip of water, we can edit this out.
No, 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 no. It's fine. It's fine. And I want people to see, honestly, in this moment, I know there are a lot of, people who are like, I don't like people seeing me cry. I think it's funny because every time I forget that I put this line in the book,
My
and it
favorite.
actually it got me too when I was recording the audiobook, which will also be released the same day. But just hearing that line back, I think, and the reason why I think I get so emotional is because this world is so quick to tell you that you can't.
Mm.
And the world is quick to close doors on you, and the world is quick to try to push you out of rooms. Um, and I think that I think that's the reason why I keep going and why I keep doing what I do, even with all of the no's and all of the different ways, at the time. So I now currently have a different agent, but at the time, the agent that I had, you know, we would send the book out and we would ask so many different places, we would try to pitch it, and I mean, we pitched to all of the biggest name places you could name. And we would always come back with, well, if you change this, or if you tweak this, or can you make this look more this way, or can you focus on it this way, right? And it was like, at the end of the day, it's like you can, right? I could go back and rewrite the proposal to make it fit the way, no shade, because if I sell something with them down the line, great, to fit what HarperCollins or what Penguin, Random House is looking for, right? But there was just something in my heart that said I have to, I had to go back to my agent and say, this story,
Mm.
I'm not changing. Like the way that this story looks, the way that this book is going to look, the way that this book is going to feel, it has to be this way because this is what I feel like the universe has called me to do in this moment. And so, when we go back to that word audacity, I think there's this element of how dare you as a Black queer person be, what's the word I'm looking for? Audacious, I guess. You have enough confidence to tell a big company like Penguin or like HarperCollins, no, that's, I'm not changing anything. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, right? And think that you're going to find success with it, right? And I'll be transparent. My book, I already know my book probably will never see the success that some other books see. But I think that there is, and I'm not speaking that as true. Like I want to make sure I let the universe know, like, girl, if you want to take it and run with it, please do. But I'm saying, like, it may not, and I'm okay with that because I think for me, having the audacity to say my story is going to be the way I want it to be in a world that is constantly telling me how I have to show up or how I should show up is for me what's so powerful about me writing this book at this time. Especially in a world now where folks are really trying to push us back into the closet. Hell, people are trying to kill us. Like, if you really want to talk about it, right? They're trying to get rid of us altogether. So
I mean,
yeah.
I'm going through a similar experience when it comes to telling our stories, and specifically giving this times, like, what part of myself do I want to share with the world? What part of myself am I willing to negotiate to sort of like,
Mhm,
not,
mhm,
oh, do I say this? Do I say not? But I'm like,
mhm.
my thing, it's always been like, white people are allowed to be complex all the time.
That's
all
it.
the time.
That's
And
it.
the fact that we are not allowed the same mistakes, really, you're not allowed the same mistakes. It also comes into the creative aspect, right? What things am I writing that are not going to sell, right? It's sad that this is, but it is the show business, and
Yeah.
it's part of the publishing world. And thank you for being so honest about that. Which takes me to my next question about, like, sometimes it amazes me that people are surprised that this country is coming after our stories. Like, I mean, Google Cal is literally trying to erase us by taking away Pride Month and Black History Month from its calendar celebrations. Amid the chaos, John, what keeps you creating?
Yeah. I think there's a part of me that understands, that even the days where I feel like nothing is, so I'll say this. Last week I had tweeted slash I had posted on social media that I feel like a part of me feels like I'm always going to be kind of at this place, and it feels like I'm never going to ever be able to get kind of past it, right? And what I mean by it is, if you're a creative and you're looking for validation and you're looking for money and you're looking for opportunity, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
This notion of just being at a certain place in your career and feeling stuck there and feeling like it's never going to allot you the space to get bigger, right? And so there was a part of me that felt that way for a couple of days. And then I got word, just yeah, I also had shared this on social that I got word that a magazine is now is now allotting me as being their basically I get the front cover of their Pride issue. Um, and I'm really excited. And I don't say that to gloat. I don't say that to be like, yay, look at me. What I say that in is the idea of I'm learning day by day that the right people are going to see me.
Mhm.
And the right people, the folks who need to see me and hear me, are going to hear me and see what I'm creating. And so I think that's what keeps me creating, because I'll be transparent. When I was in the thick of my life and the hardest parts of my life, I didn't have anybody advocating for me. I didn't have, a show or a creator or a person saying, John, you got this. You can be your authentic self. Life is going to be okay. You're going to make it. You'll be able to do the same thing to someone else. So since I didn't have that, right? And to be honest, even at this point, I don't really have that. Like, I don't have it either, right? It's very rare that, a person with a lot of power and a lot of visibility will tap me on the shoulder and say, John, I think you're doing a fantastic job. Keep going. How can I support you? That doesn't happen. And so with that to be said, I think what keeps me creating is that one day I will be able to be in a position to where I will be able to give someone a 15, 20,000, $25,000 check and go, if you really want to create that short, here's some money. I got you. If you really want to be able, I mean, hell, I'll even say this. I had a friend who I know is queer. They had a moment where they needed some help, and I was able to help them. And I don't say that as, oh, John is the savior. No, I say that as in my creativity has allotted me a little bit of coin, not a
Mhm.
lot, a little bit of
Yeah.
coin to be able to help some of the other creatives that I know who are needing to create. That's what keeps me creating, is knowing that one day the people who are not helping me is going to inspire me to be able to go out there and help those who truly need it. And so, yeah, that's kind of my long way of saying that.
That's beautiful because, it surprises me. Again, no naming any names, but when people within our own communities, like, they've quote unquote made it, and they start to forget the people behind. And
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, there's so much to say about the intersection of class, race, and gender, and all those things that, just because we look alike, that doesn't mean our experience are the same, right?
Ooh, child, all skin folk ain't kin folk,
And
I tell you.
exactly. So with that in
Mhm.
mind, with everything changing, what would you tell young and older creatives? There's never an
Mhm.
age to
Mhm.
where you're seen as up and coming, who want to tell the stories, but they still feel like, "Ah, that world is not for me, so I'm gonna keep my stories to myself." What
Mhm.
do you tell people that might wanna ask for the John advice?
Mhm, mhm. Well, so I say this. So I know this about me. I am a 200% perfectionist. I beat myself up daily about things I do, and the things that I don't do. I'm very hard on myself when stuff comes out. Like even at one point a couple days ago, my husband was like, "You should just be grateful." Like not even like you should be grateful, but they're like, "Baby, you put out a book. Like you be like you put out a book." Like you've done something that very little, like very few people in this world will ever be able to do, and so there was a part of me, like even in that I was still critiquing and still going hard on myself about wanting all of about the way all of this should look. So I say all of this to say, when that dust settled and that dust cleared, right after I had beat myself up, there was a part of me that really sat with both what my husband said, but also what I know in my heart. And it's the idea of I got to tell, like, if something ever was to happen to me, or if something ever kept me from being able to write again, I knew that my story and that it would be the way I wanted it to be, right? Like that was my fear, and that was why I pushed so quickly to get this book out, because I said, I know that these people are coming. I know that they're doing whatever they can to silence me, and I'm already feeling it in so many different ways. I want to make sure that I have something that is a living piece of art, per se, right? That when people read it, I could go, no, 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 that's exactly the way that it's supposed to be, because that's my story. And so I say that to say to those who are currently in a place where they may have this big dream and they may go, I don't know how to fund it. I don't think it's going to get the support. I don't know if it'll ever be big enough. I don't know if it'll ever be right. I don't know if, anyone's going to receive it the way, oh, they may not. It may never see the light of day the way you wanted to see it. But what I will tell you is that when you're done with the process and you can look back on it, like, I don't know. It's this weird thing that I don't think people will ever understand. Like there are days I literally just want to hug my book. Like I'm just like, oh my God, this thing. Like I love this thing so much. Like, and I know that I have other books in me, and I know that other opportunities are going to come along. But it's something that, like I said, I've told people, it's something that I sat on for so long because I didn't believe that I have the tenacity to do it. And now it's a thing, and now it's real. And now I have something I can be very prideful and happy about. So I say this, like, do the thing. The world's going to critique it. The world's going to review it, and they're going to leave all. People may love it, and people may hate it. But at the end of the day, it's something that you can truly say, I did because I truly wanted to do it.
100%. And I mean, what a good partner you have there, because it is sometimes the people in the closest to us that are like, hey, be careful, like give yourself
Mhm.
that grace. And yeah, I can imagine. I constantly have fantasies about me hugging my book, like hugging this thing that I've been part of other publications, and I'm very proud of that. But like I seeing you and seeing others, sort of go for it and have, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for this. So I can only imagine the need, the wanting to hug your project. Now we are getting to wrapping up now, but the book launch is March 24th, and we're hoping that this comes out
Fifth.
before March 25th. Uh,
Uh-huh.
are you excited? What do you look? My question was, are there any projects in the works? But let's talk about your book launch. What is there any surprises, or
So
like?
there is, oh, yes, so there is
Ah,
a surprise coming down the pipeline. We have locked it in. So I will tell you, I'll tell you afterwards, but I will
okay,
tell people,
okay,
please watch my socials. Please listen to the pod. There is something happening in the ether that you do not want to miss, and I'm very happy that happens, and that's going to happen. So I will say that. Anything that I'm working on in the moment, no, I have a full book tour. I'm in the mind right now. Even my new agent, over at Avatar, she was basically like, "Girl, don't do nothing else until you
yeah,
get done with
yeah.
this book tour." And we're touring through Pride Month, and I'm sure we'll have other dates that will come up afterwards. But my biggest thing was I really wanted to make sure that I had dates locked in, to kind of really just, put it out there for Pride Month, like, hey, this is a very queer ass, black ass, fat ass book, and I really wanted that. So I think that's where, that's what's coming down the pipeline. Where you can find me is at one of my tour stops, which you can see on social media.
Yes, John, I am so excited for your
Thank you,
book launch. I'll
baby.
be there. Um,
Mm,
and where can people find you? Where can people find about this upcoming book tour? And where can people
yeah,
purchase, pre-order this book?
yeah.
Make it go viral.
Yes,
Let's
please.
say.
Yes, I'm saying and even too, ban it. I don't care. All press is good press at this point in
Listen,
terms of this book. So please
yes.
come for it. But no, you can find my book. So pretty much anywhere books are sold. Mainly, we're telling people Wiley.com is a great place for you to go purchase it. You can purchase it at Barnes and Noble. I will also say this: Barnes and Noble is notorious for giving you 25% off and 30% off. So I would go check their website for folks who are wanting to purchase it in bulk. I know some stores, specifically indie stores, are interested in having it and carrying it in stores to purchase. You can head over to porchlightbooks.com. And other than that, if finding me, I'm on Blue Sky is the app. Yes, I left Twitter, so I'm on Blue Sky. You can find me using basically you can any handle Dr. Jon Paul. I'm on all of the socials. TikTok, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Instagram, and on Threads. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. And then other than that, if I'm not in a bookstore begging you to buy my book, I'm probably doing the robot at a donut shop somewhere around the corner. So.
Yum. Thank you so much, Sean. It was so great to virtually seeing you, and I'll be
Yes.
seeing you soon at your book launch.
Yes, yes.
Congratulations. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
baby.
much. Have a great day. Thank you for folks who stick through the whole thing and watch. This is the kind of content that we'll continue to create for our disruptors. Instagram, highlighting the brilliance like John, who have so much creativity and work to offer to this world. So thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and keep disrupting.